Hello everyone, welcome again to Meeting Recap Roundtable. My name is Tom Lord, and with me today I have the fabulous Chris Lattice Drake, the man who needs no introduction, Chris Robertson, and as a special guest today, we have the most talked about man on the school board. We call him the Honey Badger, Jon Arguello. Welcome, John, to Meeting Recap Roundtable. Unfortunately, the Water Girls could not be available for this filming. Okay, so next we're going to talk about what has to be the most contentious school board meeting that I've ever seen. I think anybody had ever seen. And, you know, John was a part of course, because he is a school board member. And let me just set this up, okay, John? About 2.5 hours go by, and this is a 4-hour meeting. And one of your fellow school board members kind of flew off the handle when you started talking about an MBE program targeting women, veterans, and minority business owners. Can you tell us anything about what was going on at that point? I mean, it blew my mind to see someone act so
juvenile.
I mean, it was just
adolescent.
so out of control, and I was just blown away by it. I mean,
well, let me talk about a couple of things, if it's okay.
Yeah.
Number one, I've gotten a ton of calls and emails and input from the community at large, and I want to thank all of you for that. It's not just bad against Ms. Castillo or any other board member. It's also just corrective behavior for myself. And hey, we appreciate what you're doing, but we also want you to keep the level of dignity high on the school board. So I have heard you. I appreciate that, and I thank you all for your input, and I hope that you continue to send me advice, which I take. So here's what happened at that meeting. Prior to the meeting, I had a meeting with our school board attorney. I was in that meeting maybe 15 minutes or so when there was a bang, like a huge bang, a door slamming open. Somebody was starting to scream in the office exterior to my office. I have an office with a desk there, the lawyer's sitting in a chair in front of me. There's the office where our secretary, Tanya Culver, works. And somebody was coming in and they were screaming, where the F is he? Where the F is he? Okay, and in my mind, I'm thinking, are this like a school shooting or something?
Yeah.
So what is going on, right? Because it's literally that loud. And then someone comes to the door and they're like, bang, 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 like several times with their fist on my door. To my office, to my individual office, right? Which we all share. It's not my office, it's our office, but it's an individual office. And then the door is like flung open, like kicked open, right? Like this is literally like kicking down a door, you know, to get into an office, okay?
Wow.
So I was like, okay, I know I've been a troublemaker, but certainly there's no reason for like SWAT team to come busting into my office. But that's kind of what it was like. It was like totally unexpected commotion, this person. And it was school board member Castillo.
Wow.
So the school board member begins to kind of lean over my desk and point her finger in my face and scream at the top of her lungs for, I don't know, what's 10 to 15 minutes.
Wow.
Okay? No mask, by the way. Just, you know, to me that's kind of more.
Yeah.
Because certainly I probably would have gotten typhoid and COVID and, you know, if she could have injected me with any disease, I would have swallowed it at that time because she's screaming in my face for 15 minutes with no mask.
damn.
So, so for somebody who's worried about it being that, she wasn't certainly, you know, if I get COVID, I'm going to blame it on that one.
Right, well, she wore it during the school board meeting.
She did wear exactly. And then there was also a lot of talk about masks in school and so on. That behind that door, nobody's wearing a mask.
Correct.
And I've been saying that and stating that, listen, don't confuse the public and don't manipulate them.
Correct.
If we're not having a real policy that really, if I were for masks 100%, I'm still not going to vote for it unless it's actually true, right? So, and this past meeting where they voted that in, which I don't know if we're going to talk about it or not, but anyways, that past meeting, it was purely PR. I'll never vote for that, even if I'm for it. So, anyways, so she came in, she was screaming at me for 10 to 15 minutes. At some point, it kind of clicked, and I was like, you know what? I should record this. You know?
Yeah.
I should record this. I pull out my phone, and I click, okay, lights, camera, action, here we go, boom. And then, you know, she looks at me with a sense of fury, and she continued. She continued for a second,
Wow.
and then she stopped, and then she is like, "Is this where we're at, or whatever?" The attorney, when I pull out the camera, the attorney actually got up out of his chair because the attorney was just sitting there in shock. He gets up out of his chair. He tries to stop us, but at this point, it's already been a good amount of time. Yeah. So she leaves, and then I had said, hey, you're abusing me right now. Look at what your behavior is. This is abusive behavior. So whatever. I know better that sometimes my emotions get the better of me. I'm saying it, but I'm kind of chuckling at the same time, right? And I know that that's going to make her more mad, and it did. She walks out of the office. She continues her screaming at the top. You'll see it in the video, right? You can see it. She's screaming at the top of her lungs, continuing, continuing. And she's essentially repeating what I said to her, which is, I'm going to get an attorney if you continue, type of thing, right? So anyways, she goes to the office next door, which is our PR office. They come and they get her and they snatch her, they take her out.
Wow.
But she's screaming at the top of her lungs the whole way. Then she goes into the next office. She's continuing to another 10 to 15 minutes. She's screaming at the top of her. I'm deaf. I have like bad hearing loss, but I can still hear her perfectly fine through the wall because they're in an office. And everyone down the hallway can hear her as well.
Yes.
At this point, now you see like people who are taking out garbage and whatever, and everybody's kind of like peeking, like, is this a school shooting? Like that's like, I think everybody's thinking the same thing. Like this is some kind of dangerous situation. And then they're like, oh no, that's just school board member Teresa Castillo. And then, but
Wow.
So I don't mean the joke, but anyway, she's in there. She's screaming another 10 to 15 minutes. They call the superintendent. The superintendent comes down. They take her to another area. I don't know where. I think it's another conference room where because now we're getting close to that school board meeting.
Yes.
There's people there coming in.
Yeah, we were in the lobby.
So they took her to some deep place in the innards of the school district where nobody could hear her. So the school board meeting starts maybe a minute or two late, and it was because she was coming down. We were waiting for her. So and then that was the beginning. That was beforehand. So I was a little bit maybe hot under the collar. I was ready to go.
On the defense, essentially.
I was, I kind of. Here's the thing: when it's a 3-2 board, and it's really a 3-1-1, right? Julius, I've known for 25 years, but he and I don't coordinate our votes. I think you can see that on the days, right? Like sometimes we don't agree, but he's going to vote his conscience, and I appreciate that, and that's all I ask of him. And he's the same thing with me, right? He doesn't ask me to vote a certain way. We trust that our intentions, right, are good, and that our morals will keep us in tune to what the needs of the school district. The other three, however, I think there's only been one time where they have voted against one another. I think it was a 4-1 vote. Teresa voted nay. Everyone else was aye for whatever reason. I don't even remember what it was, but it was one time. Otherwise, they vote together. And in some cases, not only are they voting together, but they're reading from like what appears to be a script.
Wow.
So it's clearly a choreographed dance, just like at the last school board meeting on the 17th. So we go in that night. We're going through. I kind of look over, and I'm trying to gauge, is she okay? I'm trying to also at the same time just kind of go through what I need to do without trying to be a distraction, without creating a distraction. I bring about several initiatives which I think are extremely important and valid, right, for the school district and for our community. And they, of course, they all get voted no. It doesnnen matter what it is. Now, school board member Castillo says, oh, well, I'm not voting for that because I don't have enough information. But then the Chairman Thacker, brings up a motion that he basically is trying to silence me. Apparently, they've never seen it, or so they're saying, right? But they're absolutely happy to change a school board rule. Right? On the drop of a hat with no advance warning. I certainly didn't see a copy of that, 10-minute speech that he had delivered. So nobody's seen it, but she has no problem voting for that. So obviously there's a lot of dishonesty. And that's just how I'm going to say it. It is dishonesty. Absolutely.
And it's evident.
I think that the first time that there was a showdown, one of the first times, I think a school board member Bast was defending a contract that we had with Valencia College. There's no bad, no wrong. There's nothing nefarious there. It's nothing, nothing bad. I have a philosophy. There's a ton of money. I want to check the money. But they obviously the superintendent wants it. The 3-person majority belongs to the superintendent, right? So whatever she wants is going to pass. Then, but he comes and he opens up his little folder. I sit next to him. He sits to my right, and he starts reading from this script. And I say to him, hey, well, what about that program do you like? And I look into his eyes and I see nothing but empty space. I could have been on the Starship Enterprise. There was nothing going on. There literally, like, he didn't know anything about that program. Okay? I had spent my night, reading everything about that program and researching whatever. When I asked him, and I could tell right away that there was nothing there, these people are coming unprepared, except that they are coordinating their efforts, which to me is unfair, illegal even.
Well, to lend to your situation, I can tell you, I was at that first school board meeting. And by the way, it was 4 hours and 40 something minutes.
Yeah, it was very
not just 4 hours.
Wow.
I think it was 4 hours and 41 minutes, or 4 hours and 40 something minutes, and it was wall to wall, folks. It was the school board mask mandate meeting that everybody thought they were going to discuss. So there was a lot of people there. When I tell you the parking lot was full, the lobby was full, the entire area was full. And so I got there a little early, hoping to get a seat, and boy, I thought I was lucky, and then not so much. I did end up getting a seat. So to lend to what you were saying, and I actually commented on something someone had posted on Facebook. I heard a little bit of the tirade, and some of the staff, like you mentioned, not necessarily the school board staff, but other folks were commenting on what was being said, and they could hear what she was saying, and it didn't bode well for her as an elected official, number one, and number two, as an adult. The thing I kept hearing over and over again were, man, that was crude, it was crass, it was trashy. That was honestly the words that we kept hearing over and over again. Now, I could hear the tirade. I couldn't specifically hear what was exactly being said because there was a bunch of people in there. And it went on for a while. It was quite uncomfortable.
Well, my impression, I was also in that meeting, and my impression is that 3 majority supports that behavior of Ms. Castillo.
I agree.
And it's disgusting. It should not have taken the school board attorney to speak up and say, well, maybe both of you should stop talking to each other, saying, any comments. That's not the board attorney's job. It's the chairman's job. The chairman is the one responsible for keeping that meeting in order. And I believe he failed miserably. I believe our District 5 representative should have spoken up and said something. I'm in District 5. I want our representative to stick up and say what's on his mind. Because I didn't really hear him say too much during that meeting.
I think he did say what was on his mind.
Now that was later on.
Just in the fact that you said not that much was being said.
And I supported him, and I'm still getting information on what's going on with all of those issues. But let's go ahead and talk about that now, if you want. I mean, that's...
Well, let me say one thing, too. I want to address something, because immediately they were like, they get their strategy in place. How do we combat this situation, right? And then they start trying to say, oh, well, Arguello's, beating up on this woman or whatever. Okay. So here's one thing.
Yeah.
Number one, I was essentially raised by my mom by herself, right? I have 2 sisters, and I have so many daughters that I don't even bother to count them at this stage. My house is surrounded with women, and by women, and with women in there, okay? And this is not about a disrespect with women. I've never seen my mother behave like that when she was in her going to work, which she did every day of her life.
Right.
And she was never allowed to use, I'm passionate. At that meeting I said, it's not your passionate that you need to be ashamed of, it's your behavior. And that's the case. Here's the thing, my mom raised me. My mom, just to say, okay, my mom's probably the most important influence in my life, and she, very clear, she's like, I prefer for you not to get into those fights, right?
Sure.
But certainly she would never tell me that it's because she's a woman.
Correct.
Right? And nor would she ever use that card. And she's like, and we've been in other meetings where she has played that card, and she says, the reason that you guys treat me like this is because I'm a Hispanic woman.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? I'm Hispanic too.
Right.
But I don't go around saying that everything that you're doing is racism whenever you vote against me.
Right.
Besides that, it's not racism, it's greed.
It's greed.
So
right.
I mean, and
exactly.
It reminds me a lot, and I'm sure many people from Osceola County have been here for years, of Dee Stevens.
Yeah.
Dee Stevens, I don't know if you recall, we had a school board member that essentially there were many meetings where a sheriff deputy had to stand behind the dais, and when she would not calm herself, she would have these outbursts and meltdowns. What I witnessed during that meeting, those were meltdowns. And that has no place there in the school board.